You're a point to all these fancy clothes, with all these buckles from your head down to your toes. It's very simple, but I'm just another girl. It's not so easy, but I'm giving it a whirl. Is there something that you're trying to prove, with all the makeup and the way you move? Are you looking for some sympathy? No, I'm trying to be the best girl I can be. It's very simple, but I'm just another girl. It's not so easy, but I'm giving it a whirl. Like my martinis dry, cosmos I won't deny. Smoke those long cigarettes. Thank God I'm not dead yet. Done all these crazy things, short of a wedding ring. Just
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Calista Solon, and you're watching NLC Trans. Tonight I'm here with my dear friends and co-hosts, Tara Alexander and Stacey Dozier. And we have an extra special guest tonight, who, if you've been watching tonight, you've already seen, because he was just on Street Talk with Father Carmichael. We have attorney Daryl Finizio.
Hello.
Who is a prospective candidate for mayor in November here in New London, and we're going to ask you all about that stuff.
Sounds
and
good.
we're going to ask you all sorts of personal questions because
Good.
Tara and I were kind of talking about this before the show. We kind of want to dig into who you are.
Who is this person? Anyway?
Obviously, you know.
Time for the woman's perspective.
Well, yeah, you know, if you've been watching Father Russ's show, you know, I'm sure you got all the political stuff.
Intense political stuff.
But we're going to go a little more personal with
Good.
you. But certainly, and by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. I have my green flower. So
Give you green flower.
I don't have. I have to buy a green dress. Anyway, so I guess we sort of want to know a little bit about who you are. You're going to be hopefully running. I assume there's going to be a primary. You and Mike Bassetto.
Yes, there are two declared Democrats, and I am declared candidate, filed candidate. Myself and Councilor Bassetto are the only two so far who have. Others may come forward or may not. At this point, I think we're getting to the stage where if there's any others, we should know soon.
Yeah, I would think so.
Or it's probably going to be what it's been since December now. The three names that people are hearing.
Yeah. So we're assuming that you'll be running in the fall against Rob Perot, I assume.
Well, that is what everybody assumes. That we're gonna go all the way through, and that in December we'll be mayor. But the voters of New London will have the ultimate say on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. My understanding is we haven't actually had a real mayor here in New London since what, the 1920s.
Yeah, this is a first.
So it's kind of interesting.
It is, and it's a very historically significant election, if nothing else for that reason, and should get a lot of attention as a result. So hopefully we'll have a very good discussion and debate, because it's going to be a turning point for the city. You know, we're switching forms of government. We have our first mayor, and it's a strong mayor who's going to be in not for 2 years, but for 4 and/or longer. So this is a big election. This is a very big election.
It's cool. We love New London, and you know, yeah, it's sort of the turning point for New London. But New London's a great place. So so we're kind of excited about the whole thing.
And you love New London.
Absolutely, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, it's great. I mean, I love New London for the community that is New London.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think about New London, when I always thought about New London, when I started coming to New London as an adult and met my partner here and everything, you know, it was the people here. It was the community here. It was the things that you could do here that brought me into New London. It wasn't the bricks and mortar and buildings. But once I was here, I saw all the other things that New London has and says, my God, you know, not only is it a great community, it's got a lot going for it too, and could really do, you know, even better. But come what may, even if this office hadn't been created or wasn't created or whoever fills it, I was coming here anyway, and I'm staying anyway. So, you know, if anybody needs me, they know where to find me. I'm not going away. So,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
So you're living here now and practicing here.
Yes, I do. I practice from my home, but I very limited practice. I take just a couple of clients, usually former clients who have, you know, some other need, will or something, and, you know, I help them with it. But my primary activity right now has been teaching at Northeastern University, where I teach urban law and policy and finishing up a PhD. But after this April, I won't be teaching up there anymore. I may be teaching for the UNH MPA program extension at Mitchell College. Just found that out a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
And/or practicing, and/or being mayor. We'll see how that works out. But hopefully soon, hopefully next month, I'll be here in New London for good, one way or the other, and have the commute done away with, which has not been fun. It's been a great job, it's been a great experience, but I won't miss driving up and back, or taking the train up and back to Boston all the time.
Yeah, that's a bit of a haul.
It's a haul. It's a haul.
And yeah, trains. I was sort of looking at the trains a while back, and that's kind of a pain in the neck. But yeah, that's so. Mitchell, we love Mitchell. We spend a lot of time at Mitchell, and we have connections there too. So that's kind of cool.
So you've said that if, in the event of your election, you will be a full-time mayor.
Correct.
So you'll be focusing solely on.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
If elected, I would immediately. Attorney ethics actually require that I give up my legal practice.
Okay.
And I would stop teaching wherever I was teaching at that point.
Okay.
No, if I'm elected mayor, that's it. And for the greater part of the campaign, with the exception of perhaps that one adjunct teaching position in the fall, to pay the bills until we know the result of the election. But apart from that, I'll be a full-time candidate as well. I think to really run this race and do it right, I have to be willing to take a good 6 to 10 months and just say, that's it, we're doing this. And then obviously if we win, that's it from there on out, sure. Until people decide it's time to send me to do something else, which they may well do very quickly, who knows.
So you've had a really interesting work history from what I saw on your resume, being everywhere from page in the Senate, working in law firms, I was curious if sort of let the voters get to know you a little bit better.
Sure. Well, I've been working in public service since I was about 15 years old, and was always drawn towards it, even though there are always opportunities, particularly when you have a law degree or an MPA like I do, to make more money doing other things. What always attracted me was public service, because I always felt the greatest fulfillment when you're working in the interests of others. I just think that that's what life's about, as far as I'm concerned, and I've always felt that way. So it's no surprise that I've, been in a lot of different public service-oriented jobs and have pursued that in my educational training as well. But I'm here in New London without the intention of actually doing this. That's the funny thing. I moved to New London because I just love New London. I met my partner, he's a native of New London, and our community was here. And I don't think a lot of people realize that if they're not in the gay community or the queer community,
right.
that New London is a place where we have a sizable population.
Yeah.
New London is a place where we have restaurants and bars and community centers and organizations and
Yep.
softball teams and bowling leagues and public access TV shows. And, there's a lot here, and I think that was very attractive to me. And also what attracted me was the broader diversity in the city. And let me give you one example of what I mean.
Sure.
My partner, when I met him, was waiting tables in the summer during his early years of teaching at the Portuguese Fisherman in Hodges
yeah.
Square. And
She loves that.
that's
I
where
love
I
that
hung
place,
out.
yes.
That's where I hung out all the time. So when I first really started to get to know New London, it was that neighborhood.
Yeah,
It
Hodges
wasn't the
Square.
neighborhood I live in now, which I'm still finding my way around some of the streets. The north side of the city is where I spent most of my time. And what I liked was that you saw every type of person. And when I joined the boxing gym on Bank Street 4 years ago, same thing, every type of person. We joined our church at All Souls Unitarian about 5 years ago, same thing, all types of people, everywhere you went. And in New London, more than anywhere else I've ever lived, more than any other city I've ever studied or visited, I saw more interracial couples in New London than I've seen anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think people, and you mention that to people, and people go, yeah, you're right. I really, wow, I never thought about that. I noticed that. But that really spoke to me because that's a special place, where there's that much diversity and that much intermingling within the community, where it's not just that you see every stripe, but every stripe has its own little pocket.
Right.
Here we're all in doing the same things at every establishment, at every center, and that's just special. And my partner and I, almost within the first 3 months, I think, of meeting, said, boy, wouldn't it be great to live in New London someday?
Yeah.
And for 5 years, we were trying, and I moved from Rhode Island and repositioned my career, and we tried to sell his house that we refinanced and fixed up, and we were watching, and the market was high, we couldn't afford the homes, and then we just caught it just right. The housing market dipped, the interest rates were low, we found a buyer for our house, everything worked out, and it was very stressful and it was a lot of work, and we land in the new house and we're like, whew, we made it, and this is great, and we're both teachers, and we're just going to, do our enjoy this, and isn't this spectacular? And then I open up the paper one day, and it says, New London considering mayoral form of government. I went, oh no. Just when I thought I was out,
Yeah.
So it kind of came about that way. It certainly wasn't. I think, as we've gone around, people have said, oh, you moved to New London to run for mayor. I said, no, nothing could be farther from the truth. It is what it is, and it happened when it happened, and we're doing it for the reasons we're doing it. But believe me, I thought I'd be down at Ocean Beach in a Hawaiian shirt with nobody knowing who I am. But maybe not. Maybe not.
Well, and to the point now that your campaign is sponsoring the New London St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Yeah, you gotta tell us
and
about
we
that.
are thrilled. I got a call from Dan McSparron and Marie McSparron, who run the parade, and they said they had lost some sponsorship because Pfizer used to sponsor the parade, and Pfizer stopped, and Pfizer pulled out of New London. And one of the big things in my...
you were supposed to mention their name.
the dark name. And one of my big complaints has been that that's a problem with our economic development strategies, that we've looked to big companies like that instead of small businesses. And the St. Patrick's Day Parade was started by small businesses. Former Mayor Kevin Kavanaugh, ceremonial Mayor Kavanaugh, and Diarmid Hanifin of Hanifin's Pub, started the parade. It was local people like the McSparrons who work in neighborhood associations and stuff who kept this thing going. And the parade brings out local people to participate, enjoy, and then afterwards, after the parade, everyone goes to the local small businesses in downtown. So it's a great thing for the community. And they needed money, and I said, absolutely, we'll do as much as we can. So we made a $2,500 sponsorship, which was the most we could afford to do. But I was happy to do it. And part of the reason I was happy was that I'm Irish. My mother is a McMahon, and the McMahons have been in New London and New London County since the 1840s. So we've been here a long, long time. And my mom and I, from 1991 to 1999, in the summers, ran an Irish store, an Irish import store in Watch Hill, Rhode Island, and that was our family business. So not only are we Irish, we ran an Irish small business. So the opportunity to participate in the parade was just a good thing to do. It was a great source of personal pride for me. And also, one of the things that impressed me is that, as you know, but maybe some of the viewers don't, gay community and gay organizations and queer organizations and LGBT organizations and the Irish parades around the country have had a tough history. In Boston, Irish gay and lesbian groups wanted to integrate the parade and were told no, and they took their case all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. It was the Hurley case, and the Supreme Court said no, the parade has a right to bar these people from marching. The St. Patrick's Day Parade in New York bars gay officials from participating. And the fact that New London not only didn't care, but they openly asked our campaign to be involved, I jumped at the opportunity because I think it's a way to smash one of those little glass ceilings that has a little bit of a personal tilt to me, being Irish and having run an Irish business. To smash that one it has some personal satisfaction, but it also celebrates the fact that we live in that type of a community, where this isn't even raised. It's not even questioned.
Yeah, southeastern Connecticut is really good for that. It's a really supportive, diverse area, and a lot of the state of Connecticut, I think, just doesn't realize it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
But I think they're going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
They're going to.
We're going to manage to underline it.
That's right.
We have long-term plans to make this like LA East.
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Well, I don't know about San Francisco. I don't know whether I would want that. But what I think,
Without the earthquakes.
what I think needs to be told to people is that no matter who you are, you a new immigrant? Are you Hispanic? Are you black? Are you in an interracial or interethnic relationship? Are you transgendered? Are you gay? There's a place for you here. Come here. We want your business. We want your activity. We want this community to grow. And from my perspective, running for mayor in New London, I want a New London where people know I can find a place there that's my own. And New London can be my home. And what better way to signal that to people than to elect someone who is new to the community and who is a minority, and to say, look, see, we celebrate this. We celebrate people bringing outside abilities and talents into our community. We want that. So guess what, new business that's looking to relocate? Come here. Because we're open to that. If it's, you have to be born here in order to play any role here, what does that tell a business that might move here? What does that tell a family that might move here? Is this a place that really wants you? I think we need to send the message that, no, we want you. And there's a place for you here. I think that'll make us stronger.
Yeah, it's we've sort of been amazed at we're not really new to the area, but sort of coming to New London and spending a lot of time down here. We've sort of been amazed at what a great place this really is, and how open open and inviting this place has been for us. And in fact, we were told. I don't want to get into a long story here, but when we first started doing this show, somebody that I know, was kind of a crazy person, called up and told us that there are 3 transgender people in New London.
And
That's
we
it.
weren't any of
And
them.
we weren't them. and it's like, of course, the fact of the matter is, it's not true. There's a lot of transgender, and there's a
very healthy.
There's a very
gender
large
and sexual minority community in New London City and in New London County.
The gay community is much larger in New London than people realize, and it's very diverse. Because the one thing that's really amazing about the gay community, and it's a strength of the gay community, is that there are Jewish gay people, and black gay people, and lesbians, and men, and transgendered, and everything else. So every single population within New London, someone in that community, in that family, is gay or lesbian or transgender.
And broad diversity, I know from corporate seminars, is a great ideal. It's very, very difficult to get there, but I do think that the New London area approaches that more than I've seen a lot of places.
Exactly.
It's really a great thing to see.
It is, and I think the only disconnect is between the people and the politics. I mean, the community is there. The government always hasn't been. So you don't have to do anything to create it in the community of New London. It already exists. All you need is a government that recognizes it, celebrates it, and is open to it, to really allow it to flourish. It's not really even something that government needs to do. It's more that government needs to get out of the way, and let New London be the diverse place it is, and let it celebrate that diversity. I mean, people say there's not enough to do. We don't have enough events to bring people downtown. Well, let's do an Irish parade, and let's do a Puerto Rican festival, and let's do gay pride, and let's do a carnival, and let's do opsale, and let's do all these things that we have doing, and show people everything's going on in New London. Don't you want to be part of New London? Isn't New London a great place to be?
Yeah.
Because the people here already feel that way.
Yeah.
But some of these ideas have been tried before, and they get shot down for this or that, or the government
Unnecessary roadblocks.
finds a way to
Yeah.
bureaucratically block it. I think you just need a government that says, wow, that's a great idea.
Cool.
How do we do it?
So how do we get you elected? We have actually been talking about the gay pride thing for a couple of years now.
Yeah, for the last 2 years.
In fact,
New London
our
Pride.
friend Constance actually did a study on it
That's
a little
right.
bit.
And I read that study, Constance
Christophic, yeah.
Christophic,
Yep.
from Connecticut College, and I read her proposal, and it's great. And I've talked to Chip Green and Green Marketing Inc., which is working with Barbara Neff
Yep.
on Carnival for August 2012 to follow after Op Sale. And if you think about it, Op Sale, which is going to be Sale Fest exponentially
Yep.
magnified, is going to be in July.
Yep.
We have in August Carnival. In between, we can have the books and festival and all these other things on the pier. But then in early June, if you had Gay Pride, and if in March we had the 5th annual, even better, St. Patrick's Day Parade, you're
have a very
rolling
active
out
summer.
continual events. And I'd
Yep.
like to see a Latino Pride Festival as well.
Yep.
I mean, my partner's Puerto Rican. He's from New London. Huge family, the Rivera family. And that's something that we should celebrate too. I mean, this
Yep.
isn't just a gay or straight, or
No.
it's let's showcase
Yes.
all of it. And in February, it's tough because of the weather, but it's African American History Month, it's Black History Month. We need to do more events to celebrate that community as well, because New London has a very proud history with African Americans going back to the whaling industry.
Sure.
Because the whaling industry was one of the only industries that allowed for equal pay for freed blacks and whites. And that's why so many African Americans originally came to New London. So we need to let people know that and celebrate that. And if we do these events every month, we keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Because every one of these events afterwards, where are people going to go to eat?
Oh, yeah.
Where are people going to go for a cocktail? People are going to go watch a movie. People are going to go do something.
They're going to
in
wander down Bank Street
New
until they can
London.
find an open seat in a restaurant.
That's right, and it's going to be packed. And let me tell you, anyone who thinks, oh, we're going to do all this stuff, wait till they see it happen. And in 2012, with Op Sale already coming, with Carnival already in the works, if you can add a gay pride, if you can add a Latino pride to it, we have an opportunity right in that first year to really showcase New London. So if elected and promoting these events and really going out there and bringing people in, we can put New London on display. And all those people that come to those events, how many of them might say to themselves, hey,
Same
you
thing
know
you
what?
did.
I could move here, or I could open a business here.
Yep.
Because you know what? The rents in New London are a lot cheaper than New York. They're a lot cheaper than even Providence or New Haven. How about buying the building? Look in the paper. Everywhere else you look at real estate, hundreds and hundreds of thousands,
Oh, yeah.
New London, 160,000. You can get a place that's zoned for a business on the first floor, an apartment on the second floor and third floor. You can rent one, have your small business, and have a house. And, oh my God, you can be self-sustaining and run your own business here in New London for a very affordable price.
Right.
There are a lot of people who would come here, but we have to show them something.
Yeah.
And I think in 2012, if we roll out these events, we show people that New London's a place that maybe they should relocate to.
Right.
Yeah.
And that you make a good point, too, that you were talking earlier about the breadth of the community, the diversity across the community. But New London has a very deep history, too. And, that's really attractive when you mentioned, it was mentioned in one of the articles that was written about you, walking through New London, you get to see the architecture, you get to see the history that New London has to offer.
A lot of beautiful neighborhoods, a lot of wonderful, breathtaking architecture. That
Oh my
it's just,
God.
I
Well,
love it.
You can see it. It's frustrating because you can walk down Crystal Avenue
Yep.
and you can see these big, beautiful Victorian homes.
Yeah.
And you say to yourself, this is just paradise waiting to happen. But most people, they'll see a neighborhood and for whatever reason, they don't see it.
Well,
But there's Coleman and Truman Streets and places like that where you walk around and you look at the buildings and you say, you know, look at the Hempstead houses. These historic, beautiful houses. Look at these old Victorian buildings that have multi-families in them. Why can't this be a place that you can't touch with, you know, $3,000 a month for a studio, you know? But instead, it's one of the poorer neighborhoods because we haven't paid attention to those neighborhoods.
Right.
The
So-
attention has been focused away from those neighborhoods.
On the big business.
So public safety is going to play a role in,
Oh, you
in
bet.
changing these. I really liked what you had to say in your plan about.
You should plug.
Oh yes, I should say on FinizioForMayor.com, you can download a full copy of A Vision for New London, which is my extensive platform, so you can learn all about where I stand on different issues. But you can also email me at Daryl@FinizioForMayor.com, and I'll respond to your specific questions. And we also have a Spanish version, which we had an original Spanish version. This was very frustrating, by the way, and it didn't come out right, and I didn't like it. And rather than circulate one that was wrong, I had it done correctly. But it's an extensive document, so to have a translator do it took a lot longer than I thought. So I've been delayed in getting them out, but we have them now. They're at the printer. They should be done today. So they'll be at Centro, they'll be at First Hispanic Baptist Church, they'll be at Hispanic-owned businesses throughout the city within a week. And also it will be uploaded online within 48 hours. So anybody that wants to see a Spanish language version can also see it. But believe me, I think if someone reads that, and particularly if they read the whole thing, they won't have a doubt of where I stand and how I approach issues.
Sure.
So.
And it's in green even.
That's right.
It's like, just like your name on the screen, by the way.
That's right.
Everything's green today, I'm sorry.
Well,
But yeah.
deservedly.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's a good day to be green.
That's right.
Anyway, yeah. So great stuff, and obviously we're going to be following your campaign very closely.
So what would you like to know about me that's not on the Vision for New London?
Obviously we want to know about your partner Todd.
Great, okay. I will tell you his name's Todd Ledbetter, and his mom was a Rivera, and his father was in the Navy. And moved up here and met the local girl and decided to relocate. And he was raised in New London and in East Lyme, and he graduated from East Lyme High School. And he's a school teacher himself now. He went to Fairfield University, and he got a master's degree at the University of New Haven, and he now teaches at the Haddam-Killingworth Elementary School, at KES, Killingworth Elementary School, which is in Regional School District 17. And he was for 8 years a fourth grade teacher, and now he is the school's coordinator for their gifted and talented education program. So that's what he does. He's very passionate about his work, and he's an excellent, excellent teacher, and he also tutors on the side as well, and in the summers and everything else. So this is, you know, he, like me, he's not known to be idle for very long, but he's also a huge comic book fan. He is box 18 at Sarge's Comics in New London and has been for 20 years.
Wow.
And he became a comic book fan as a kid, and he kept up with it. And now I think in our attic, where he has his comic den set up, we have 11,000 comic books that he's collected through the years, which when we got the new house, his parents were very happy that we were able to get them out of the basement. And he also is a performer. He performs at local clubs as Gemini, a drag performer as well.
Wow.
And I'm very happy to support him in that, which I think is fantastic. And that's about it. And our favorite thing to do when we can escape to do it these days is we do our movie date night. We are an old married couple already. We are no fun. When I hear these people say, you're living the outrageous gay lifestyle, I say, boy, you really should come and spend some time around my house and just see how outrageous we are with the, you know, the two dogs, and we fall asleep at the couch at 9 o'clock because we're so tired. And once in a while we'll go out, we'll see a movie and get dinner. And in the summers we love to go to Ocean Beach. Our favorite thing to do is go to Ocean Beach.
Well, I'll see you there this summer.
You will see us there this summer. We love it. We go down there and read a book and hang out, and I just think that that's a gem
Oh,
for
it's
New
beautiful.
London. And
Yeah,
last
it
summer,
is.
you know, I was working, he was tutoring, so we'd get up, you'd work in the morning, run down there for 2-3 hours, and then run back and work the rest of the day. But just to be able to sneak down there for, you know, a couple hours, it's great. And more people from New London should take advantage of Ocean Beach.
Oh
really.
yeah, it's beautiful. So I go there. I'll be spending the whole summer there this year. But that is so cute, and that's so romantic. I love.
Fell in love with New London and fell in love in New London.
That's right, that's right.
I think that's great.
Well, that's true. You know, it's interesting, when I started the campaign, you know, the first question, when they see, okay, you're brand new in town, and you're running for mayor.
Well, you're not brand new.
Well, you know, you're not brand new. I've kind of been here all my life. I'm from Westerly, not Mars. I like to tell people that. I have family in the city. I've been coming here all my life. And my partner and I met here 6 years ago and have been intricately involved in the community for probably 4 or 5 years now, trying to move in. So we're not that new at all, really. But the initial question,
Sure.
still to people, because my name is not known,
Right.
was, well, why are you here? And why are you running? And why do you love New London? And I said, well, I met my partner here and fell in love with him here and fell in love with the city in the process and loved the community and decided this is where I wanted to make my home. Now, a lot of people after that said, you shouldn't be talking about that. You know, oh my God, you know, oh, he's out there talking about his partner's announcement speech, he's going down in flames and this and that. And I said, well, listen, it's the truth.
Yeah.
Well, if
It's
it's
the
okay,
truth.
look, if it's okay for a heterosexual male to talk about his wife, then it had better be okay for a homosexual male to talk about his male partner.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, because it's this whole idea of this diversity and acceptance by don't ask, don't tell, and it bothers me.
Oh yeah, which is why people told me, don't say it. And I said, thank you very much for your advice, and I'll talk to you later. You know, I said those things because it's the God's honest truth of why I'm here. And if people want to ask me, why are you here, I'm going to tell them the truth. I'm not going to give them some canned political line. And then other people got in touch with me and said, oh my God, you got to change your Facebook. I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, you have pictures of Gemini, you know, on your Facebook. And I said, thank you very much for your advice. And, you know, nothing has changed on my Facebook. And, you know, I think that people want honesty.
Sure.
And also I think in a community like New London, listen, we don't all understand each other. I don't know what it's like to grow up black. I don't know what it's like to be transgendered. But people don't know what it's like to be gay, and people don't know what it's like to be Jewish, and people don't. But we all live in this very small community. And I think that we celebrate our diversity, and the people in New London who don't like the diversity here are a very small minority.
Yeah.
I think most people like it, and when you're a political candidate, what they really want to see is just that you're honest about who you are, that you're an open book, because let's face it, if you win this office, this new mayor is going to be very powerful.
And highly scrutinized.
Yeah, and the ability to appoint someone or fire someone without any council approval or anything, wow, that's a massive power. You know, a mayor has a veto over everything the council does and can only be overridden by a 6 out of 7 council vote. I mean, this is a very powerful office, and if you're going to vest someone with that much authority, boy oh boy, we better know exactly who you are. And I think by being honest about myself, not only am I just being true to myself, because I don't know how else to be, but also I'm showing people, look, here it all is. And as a result, if you can trust me because I'm open about this, you'll know that I'm being open about everything else as well.
Yeah.
And I think people get it. I think people like it, actually.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
sure.
you're right. I think you're right
It's
about that.
the strength of that the mayor will have in New London. I think it was on your website that you talk about. There is the opportunity for severe corruption if the wrong person gets into that position because of the amount of power they have and the duration of their term. But it's also an opportunity for incredible change, for incredible growth.
It's an office that gives you the tools to do the things that need to be done in New London. But on the flip side, there's a danger that if that amount of power is misused, corruption could be rampant and basically unchecked. And not only just legal corruption, meaning someone taking a bribe in an envelope, but corrupting power. Influence where it's you do what I want or your business doesn't get a permit. You do what I want or your next union contract is going to be imperiled. You do what I want or you're fired. And I think we need to know when we elect the mayor that that's not going to be going on. Because who wants to open a business in a town where it's a pay-to-play city?
Right.
Who wants to work for a city where you're expected to be politically loyal to the leadership or else you're out of a job? So who's going to give the leadership honest advice?
Right.
I don't want a law director that's just going to tell me what I want to hear. I want to know the honest truth. I don't want people so paranoid of me that they won't be honest with me. So I think that it's very, very important. And the way I show that to people and demonstrate that to people is while this is new to New London, it's not new around the country.
Right.
And if you look at these strong mayors around the country, they never get voted out. Once they're in there, they consolidate power very quickly, and they're hardly ever voted out. And if they are taken out before the end of their term, it's usually by a federal corruption probe.
Right.
Whether it be Mayor Cianci in Providence, Mayor Perez in Hartford, or you can go right down the list. You're either going down in a corruption scandal or you're there for 30 years. So in this election right now in New London, this is it. Here's your shot. And the reason why I ran, even after moving to the city officially for a very short period of time, and ran even though I'm a brand new person, is that being someone who's worked in city government, being someone who teaches urban policy, I knew that.
Right.
I knew that right away. I said to my partner, I said to my friends that if this thing passes, and you're going to get that new person who can use this for the right reasons and do the things we need done, they need to run right away to have a chance. They need to run very hard. It's going to be a very difficult race, personally as well as politically. And the only real shot is the first election. So whether it was the right time for me, whether I would have preferred it or not, here it is. And if you're going to do it, it's now or never. Because this chance isn't going to come again.
Sure.
Right.
This is the first in 100 years, and whoever gets it might be in there for a very, very, very long time. And New London is also at a crossroads. The schools are at a tipping point. The budget is at a tipping point. Something's got to happen now, or bad things could happen.
And, and that's a whole other aspect of the sort of the wrong person in the office, just at that level, that New London's at a great place to build its future. And,
Right.
and I really like the idea that sort of your political platform is, quote, a vision for New London.
That's right.
We have there's a great position here in New London, but it's precarious too, because we're just right at that point in this economy where things can go really, really bad.
Yep. We have to hope that looking at economic indicators, everything is on a slow upswing.
Right.
Looking at the events coming in New London, like Op Sale and Carnival, there's opportunity there.
Yep.
So economic indicators are going up. Opportunities are there in the short term to showcase the city and generate some short-term growth for the city. And with the right leadership and a long-term vision, you can continue that growth and really expand it, and you can go this way instead of that way.
Yeah.
But it is a very critical moment. It's a turning point in the city's history. And I don't personally believe that people would have voted 3-1 to create this office if they didn't understand that.
Right.
I think people completely understand it. They know how important it is, and we'll see how it turns out. But
we actually have a phone call. Yeah, it was actually 3-1, wasn't it? That
Yes, it was.
Pretty
Yes, it
amazing.
was.
We're going to take this call.
Great.
Good evening, NLC Trans. You're on the air.
Good evening.
Hi.
Mr. Finizio.
Yes,
I don't think I said it. Did I say it correctly?
you sure did.
Okay. I understand you are for land value tax. If you are, why?
All right. I am for land value taxation, or LVT, in a limited pilot program, which has already been approved by the state of Connecticut and by the New London City Council. And I would focus it on a very small zone for redevelopment purposes. And I'm particularly looking at downtown, where it can be done on a scale and certain properties can be exempted that would be disproportionately hit. But why I'm for it is because I believe it's a revenue neutral switch in a taxation format. It's worth trying because it removes the disincentive for people to fix up their properties. Under the current reevaluation structure for real estate, if you fix up your property, particularly the facade,
Right.
your evaluation goes way up and your taxes go way up. So a lot of property owners fix up the inside of the building,
Right.
but leave the outside under construction or leave the outside decrepit because a lot of the reevaluations are done by drive-by reevaluators. They go by, the assessor drives by, looks at the building, sees what improvements were made, and ups the rate. So they play this kind of game to avoid the taxation. I think if you remove that disincentive, a lot of neighborhoods and a lot of streets in the city can be fixed up, particularly in the downtown zone. And a lot of the downtown businesses and downtown development people are very much in favor of it. And what I would favor is tying it to one of those programs as a pilot, and let's see if it works. And if it works, great, let's use it and let's expand it. If it doesn't work, discontinue it. But it's worth trying because it's a way to encourage redevelopment without expending tax dollars. Because what we're doing is we're giving the incentive to private individuals to do it with private funds. Whereas, if the city were to go in and revitalize these areas itself, you'd have to condemn buildings, you'd have to do all this other stuff. It might involve eminent domain, which is a horrible thing that happened in the city. So I see it as an opportunity to reevaluate and rejuvenate some neighborhoods and recapture some value. But I understand it's controversial. And in order to get approved, it would not only have to be me, but the city council as well. But the city council approved it in the past. The state legislature has approved it as a pilot. And that's how I think it should be attempted, as a pilot tied to a very specific, small redevelopment zone. And I'm specifically looking at downtown.
Well,
Okay.
Hello?
well, I have a problem with that, okay?
Okay.
And the problem is this: if you have land, you're going to get taxed. You're already taxed on that land, and now you're going to get taxed even more on that land. So if I want to do my house up, I mean, I can make it into a castle and not get any revenue out of it. If I'm going to sell it, I'm going to sell it as it was, not as it is, and get all kinds of money for it. But the land is going to be astronomical. That is not right. You may have a piece of land that's a 2x4. That's fine for you. But when you have acreage, and if you have a half an acre, it's not good. And when you say the pilot program for downtown, are you just limiting this land value tax for downtown only, or are you doing it for the whole city?
No, absolutely. It would be limited to
Limited
downtown,
to what?
where all of the properties that would be affected are small land properties that are on about equal square footage.
You
So
can't
it
do
wouldn't,
that.
it wouldn't have the problem.
You can't do that. You have to do once, you have to do it all or nothing.
Well,
You just can't limit a piece of property, a 2x4, versus a half an acre.
well, with all respect, I mean this, and perhaps there's something I'm
I'm gonna tell you
missing,
something
but
else, too.
this can be done as a limited program. In fact, that's exactly what it was approved as. The Connecticut State Assembly did not approve this for New London to be done as a citywide program. It was approved only to be done within a specific zone, and the city of New London had 6 months to create that zone, which was supposed to be limited in
Guess what?
scope, and they didn't do it
It
because
didn't happen, did it?
and because they got caught up in an endless debate, and the time ran out. And they
Well-
still want to do it, but now they've lost the window of time opportunity, so they have to go back to the state and ask for the pilot to be reapproved. All I've said is we need to put it on the table, because just like what Governor Malloy said with the state, you know, any good proposal we need to consider and we need to try out in limited formats to see if it'll work. because obviously what we've been doing isn't working, and if there's a good proposal out there that's gotten approvals that might work, that the local people in that area that are going to be affected support, well then, let's try it. And if it doesn't work, we can always switch back. But what if it works?
You know what? You're a very smooth talker like Governor Malloy is, and it's not going to happen, okay?
All
That's
right.
what I'm going to tell you.
Thanks for
Have
calling.
a good night.
Thank you. Well, there you go. Good, good, good.
Feedback.
All right.
I was going to make the comment earlier about, you were talking about transparency in government as one of the platform points.
Yep.
And I think the honesty with the people is before you can have transparency in your government, you have to have sort of transparency in yourself.
Yeah.
You know, people have to believe that you're capable of being honest with them before they're going to trust the policies you put forward.
Yeah.
And so that, I mean, that's a refreshing change from what you hear.
And the ability to take, tough questions. I mean, the caller brought up a very good question. Yep. It's a controversial topic. I know there are a lot of people who are on both sides of it, and maybe because of it, there are a lot of people who won't vote for me. Okay, fine. But, you have to be willing to say, this is what I think, this is why I think it.
Yep.
Because in the end, there is more than one issue in the election.
Sure.
And I think there might be some people who very strongly disagree about an LVT pilot, or there might be some people who very strongly disagree with my stance on education, on merit pay, or, there are a lot of different things that people might say. On that one, I don't like what you're talking about. But on the whole, you were up front, you took the tough question, you told me why you're doing it, and there are other things I do like. Yeah. And then they got to make a comparison. Well, you might not be my first perfect choice, but it's you or who else. Right. And in the end, I think the fact that you were up front, the fact that you took the questions, the fact that you put ideas out there, in the end will have a much more positive effect than if I were to say, no, I'm not going to talk about LBT because I know it's controversial.
Right. Yeah.
Or no, I'm not going to talk about merit pay because it's going to upset the teacher union. Or no, I'm not,
Or talk about it, but talk around it.
No. We've had enough of that. New London's had 1 million studies. New London's had 1 million people who talk around issues. No, we created this office because we want leadership. Yep. And leadership means sometimes you're going to be controversial and not everyone's going to agree with you. Yep. But boy, oh boy, tell us something. And I think more people will respect you for at least attempting it than they will not like you for trying something new.
Sure, absolutely.
So let's take our other call.
Another call. Good evening, nlcTrans. You're on the air. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Good evening. Yeah.
You're on.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Am I on?
Yes, you are.
All right. Regarding your land value tax, there was a committee that was set up in the city. Okay? And they couldn't approve of it. So I don't see any way you can go with it. I think what you would have to do is put it out on a vote and let the citizens decide what they want to do with it. Because there was a committee was already established, and they couldn't get together on it. In fact, that's why it was turned down. And going back to the state and everything, that's a lot of baloney. You want to do it right, you give it to the citizens and let them vote on it.
I think
that's my philosophy.
I think, and my understanding of that committee and some of the problems with it was that there were large property owners in other areas of the city, particularly some of the car lots and some of the ferry properties and stuff, that they were concerned that it would overwhelmingly disproportionately affect them. And they were right to have those concerns. Yep. And that stopped it. But what I would tell those interested parties is this proposal as a pilot, particularly tied to a small limited downtown zone, will not affect you. It's not going to affect your properties. So a lot of the opposition to this came from interested parties that I think thought it was going to affect them when it's not, or were worried that, if it works in this zone, they might expand it to affect us. But that's not what we're talking about. And I think there's still an opportunity to have it on the table.
So are we talking really about commercial properties as opposed to residential? Is that what you're hearing?
I believe my understanding of the debate was that a lot of the opposition came from large commercial property owners who would not be affected by a pilot program tied to a small downtown zone. So there was opposition, but I think that a lot of that opposition came from people that are not going to be affected by certainly the proposal I put forward. But what I'll tell people is, look, I have this idea, but the mayor is not the emperor of New London, even though it's going to be a very strong mayor. There's going to be hearings on this. There's going to be a council process. The council would have to be on board as well. So what I would tell people is, if you don't like it, and that's enough to not vote for me, fine. But I stand where I stand. But that doesn't mean that if I'm elected, it's automatically going to happen. We're still going to have to put this through the normal process, and that might include, if the council so desires, a vote of the public, as the caller suggested, but more likely would include a discussion within the mayor and the council. So if this gets approved, a lot more people than one person are going to have to think it's a good idea.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm still going to put it forward because I think it's worth trying. As I'm going to put other ideas forward, and some may fly and some may not, but we're going to move the agenda because we're tired of having stagnation in New London.
Yeah, and on the LVT, it sounds like, as you were saying, a lot of the opposition to it is from people that may not be affected by it, and actually being able to sit down with a map and go, this area would probably allay a lot of concern.
With a lot of the financial numbers behind it as well. But
It's all very nebulous.
I know that you're running out of time here. You got anything left? But,
we are running out of time, and I wanted to thank you so much for coming.
Oh,
you
glad to
have
be
to
here.
come back.
I will gladly.
I still have questions.
Sorry.
Good.
And we are
Every
on
green
time,
little note, we ran out of time.
I think
Sorry.
before we go, we need to talk about when the parade is. And
Yes, when and
Yes,
where?
the parade tomorrow. Please come.
1 minute.
It is at 3 o'clock. It sets off. It will go up Bank Street and up State Street. And after the parade, go visit a local New London small business. It's going to be a lot of fun. Bring the kids. It's going to be a great event for New London.
yeah,
So it's starting around the firehouse? Or?
Yes, starts around the firehouse, goes up from there, and we're marching with the McCarthy oil truck from 1929 with the shamrocks on it, and we have our little flags, and we're ready to go, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So Democrat, Republican, Independent, whoever you are, whoever you're voting for, just come out and support the Irish Parade.
Yeah. Cool. And happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to head down to Hodges Square.
That's right.
So we'll see you all next week.